The heads up to this podcast. Well, when I first started this, I had this little meta title, as it were, and it said things like, when you really believe, things happen. And not just happen, they happen in the way you believe they're going to happen. And that to me was just a little bit more, or too superficial, as it were. I wanted to go a little deeper about this thing about beliefs. Believing in yourself, and how and why goals don't happen and how and why goals do happen. And I think this could be really interesting. I go into a lot of detail, a lot of good stuff, I think, and I'll give you some information of how to really get the most empowering beliefs to get your self-esteem just where you want it, to get inner confidence and competence and all that stuff. So I think it's really interesting. I think you'll really enjoy it. I really hope you do enjoy it. You can tell by my voice, hopefully, that I'm excited about it. If you're new to this, have a listen to the next 2 minutes and then I'll get into the podcast. And if you're not, just zip forward 2 minutes and we'll begin. But enjoy. Hey, my name's Paul Clough and I'm part of this thing I've called Unplugged Personal Development. It's a niche of one, the Personal Development Unplugged podcast. You see, in this genre of personal development, self-improvement, of becoming a better you, I believe things have been made way too complicated. And I wondered why. And I don't think it's to make people like you or me feel better, feel good. I think maybe it's for the people who made it more complicated to feel better about themselves. And I don't want any part of that. So that's why I've created this podcast, the Personal Development Unplugged podcast. And it's to break down these complicated ways. And I want to produce and develop powerful, new, yet simple ways. Remember, in simplicity, there's genius. And breaking down these processes, I'll be using hypnosis, NLP, timeline therapy, so many other things. And I'm doing it for one reason only. So you and me can become, if you choose to come on this adventure with me, to become the real you. The real you. Sing from your real voice, to show up, be authentic, all the stuff people talk about but don't tell you how to do it. I want to break down those personal barriers, your personal barriers. I don't want to fix the things that didn't work, because the thing is, they didn't bloody work. And it's about finding better ways and not using painful ways of the old sorts of ways people used to use, but creating pleasurable ways, passionate ways, to create real opportunities, to let your dreams come true, get learning and developing new skills that make it happen. And the aim of this is not to create the old you, but for you to be fully the real you. So if that feels good, come and join me on this unplugged adventure.
Warning.
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 Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hey, how are we again today? I wanted to have a conversation I've just been thinking about. And have you ever wondered why we miss out on our goals? Or if we don't necessarily miss out on those goals, but we just don't complete them, which I guess is missing out on our goals, isn't it? When we look back and go, damn, if I'd have done that and this, my life would have been so much more different. And you see, I have a belief about this. And I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. But some people think the way in order to get our goals, and if we're not getting them, I want to say goals, I don't necessarily mean the big, wonderful golden goals that we're all aiming for, our dreams, our wishes. That's part of this. But I just see things as getting the things that we want. Small things. The right job. The right relationship. Meeting the right people. Doing the things that we love. And not doing them. Maybe not getting that relationship. Not getting the right career, the right job. Or, you see, a lot of people, and I've wondered about this, it's about changing your environment. Because that'll make the change that you want. Because the grass is always greener on the, over there, isn't it? That's the problem. Let me give you an example or some examples when it isn't greener over there. And you may know people just like this, and you may know someone who's slightly closer to you, like listening right now, and me. You see, do you know somebody who continuously changes a job because they weren't getting on with their boss or their colleagues, and they changed from one job to another job, and lo and behold, they seem to have same problems, different people, but same problems with this manager, these colleagues, and they change again, and they're forever changing this environment of work and coming up with the same problems. What about people in relationships? We've all heard, and I think we may have experienced it ourselves, we keep meeting maybe the same type of people as we change relationships. We're looking for something different, but we end up with the same type of relationships that are just not working for us. Or our friends. Or we think, if we go over here, go into this room or this quiet place, blah, 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 blah. Get all this, we have to have the right equipment, we have to do this, which is like your environment, making your environment better. And it doesn't, I'll say that again, it just doesn't seem to cut it, does it? Now, I'm going to be doing a smaller podcast when it does work to change your environment. But I've been thinking about this issue about not completing our goals, not getting what we want, what we need, in a more deeper way. So that's why this podcast is the way it is. You see, that thing about same old, keep changing, same old. Now, what examples have I got in my life when a change sort of made it different? And it seems to be a change that is all about beliefs and belief. You see, for me personally, I was having a really rough time at one particular company, and I knew I was blooming good at my work, and then something happened, and my confidence was just zapped. My self-esteem was so low, and everything I did, I questioned. Everything that people said to me, I questioned. Everything was like paranoia, and I really just felt so unconfident that in the end, I just had to leave for my own sanity, really, and didn't have another job. And I was looking and just sitting at home, self-esteem getting lower and lower. And every time someone would come along and say, well, I've got this project for you. Would you like to come and join us? And I've got some wonderful friends in that career. And I kept saying, no, not really. That's not for me. Because I just didn't feel confident in doing it. And then one day, and I don't know if I've told this story before, but one day, a really good friend of mine, Mike, not the guy I ended up working with, but a different Mike. I know a lot of Mikes, but this Mike, he picked me up metaphorically by the shirt collar and said, I found you a job. I found you. Yeah, it's not quite what you're used to. I know that. It's similar. You'll be damn good at it, I know. And I've had a chat with the person in this place because they really like me and they like you and they want you to come and work, and they're even going to look after you. They've heard about your history. Sorry I had to tell the personal stuff, Paul, but it's what I had to do, and you're going on this job. And I thought, hey, well, I got to go. Mike says so, and it just took a bit of my responsibility out of that. But then as I started that job, I began to believe in myself again. And the weird thing is, I realized that I was as good as any other person in that company. In fact, I believed I was actually better than a lot of people, not because of big-headedness, but my experience, I just had a little knack for this type of thing. And because as that confidence grew, and it was confidence in my competence, not overconfidence, my self-esteem grew. I began to be able to talk to people better, make more friends. I then created a company with another guy. And because this was completely out of my comfort zone, completely what I would never normally do. In fact, in the past, I'd said, I'm never going to do this. But I did it. And that was with another Mike. And that led me to NLP. Again, completely outside my comfort zone, NLP, and this blooming old thing called hypnosis, which I thought was, I don't know why, I just have to learn it because the man says who teaches this, you have to learn hypnosis. And I loved him for it because it was the best thing that then gave me even more confidence in doing something different with people. Can you believe? I wasn't a people person, and now I love people. I love helping people, and that helped then form a therapy clinic, working with people, making brilliant changes with people. And then I went on to training, becoming a trainer of NLP and hypnosis, and then training people to do what I do, and hopefully making the same changes in them so they can experience the wonders of being with people when they change in front of you. And then that maybe led to this type of thing. I'd never imagined doing this, speaking to you, one-to-one, just like this. And I have to think to myself, I wonder what next. I couldn't have ever dreamed of talking to so many people. Trainings here, seeing and being with clients. And it's not just clients in the room, we're on Skype, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. And then I thought, where's another example of this happening? And they started to come to me. And I've told you briefly about the story of Joseph, my younger son, where his self-esteem was so low, his shyness and things like that because of something somebody said to him at school. And now, when he started changing, and it's blooming hypnosis again, but great hypnosis, he began to believe in himself. And when he began to believe in himself, he started to work with people in therapy. At the age of 18, can you believe? He was dealing with people 3 times his age, and they respected him for who he was and the confidence he had. It was literally his confidence in himself was leading them to change. And now he's doing so many different things, and we've actually got something that he and I will be doing, hopefully in the near future, which may be of interest to you. We'll talk about that later. But then I thought even further, keeping it in my family. I've got 2 other sons, and both of those have done something similar. My middle son, Luke, he was looking for something, and then he found NLP, hypnosis and therapy. And then he found something even bigger in his life, magic. He's a wonderful magician now and therapist, so he creates magic in so many different ways. And to see him with his family now, he is such a wonderful person, and he literally believes in everything he does. And I have an older son, Daniel. Now, he found something in his career as he was moving on, a completely different thing. But he found that he was a problem solver. He could see issues and resolve them. And this made him really, really good as a contributor into a company with people, with ways a company was going to develop because they had problems, and he could see the things that other people couldn't see because he was confident in himself. He wasn't before maybe, but he's ultra confident in his ability. And it amazes me when I look at each of those 3. So different, yet the core is just the same. They truly believe in themselves, what they're doing, where they're going, and they're all affecting the world in such a wonderful way. They have wonderful values, wonderful beliefs, but they believe in themselves. So what happens? How does this work? So I wanted to speak about a thing called logical levels. And this particular form of logical levels of personality, of ourselves anyway, was created by Robert Dilts. Now, Robert Dilts is a phenomenal NLP guy. He's written so many books, his thoughts. We do a lot of perceptual positions. That's what Robert Dilts really gets off on, and he creates wonderful changes. And one of these things that he came up with, which has stuck with me since the very moment that I saw it. In fact, it is one of the core principles that I work from in therapy, and basically everything else, the logical levels. Because working upwards, it says, your environment, that's where you do the things that you do. It doesn't matter whether you keep changing the environment, you're still you in that environment. Now, if you move up one level, it's the things that you do that make a difference. But what happens if you don't do them? Because you can't, doing those things, if you don't have the skill to do them, then you'll never do them. So you have to learn skills, which is the next level up. But we have a real problem then, because I know people who just don't believe in the skills that they have. I've seen them. They're absolutely brilliant. They could do anything. They could do it anywhere. But the thing is, they don't believe in themselves, so they don't use the skills. They don't do the things that they know they can do. And it really doesn't matter what environment they're in, because they're just never, ever going to do it. And they may even start to change that environment. They might want to try to do so many different things, but without that positive belief about themselves, who they are, it doesn't seem to work. And that's where we come to beliefs. Beliefs and the values. Our values, what's important to us, and those beliefs. Now, we can have beliefs about so many things, but when we have belief in ourselves, those very important beliefs become our identity, or our identity forms our belief. I don't know which way it goes because it's backwards and forwards. But when we have those wonderful positive beliefs who we are, that is who we are. Our identity is our beliefs and our values. And above that, there's that connection to everything else. But that connection must come through our identity. It doesn't come through environment, what we do, the skills, the capabilities that we have. But it does come through our identity and creates those beliefs and values. Because when we truly believe in ourselves, we can learn any skill. We can learn any capability, become very capable in anything we choose, because we truly believe in ourselves and our ability to learn. And that means we'll start doing the stuff that we've learned because we believe in ourselves. We have that high self-esteem. We have that inner confidence, that inner strength. We're in alignment now, because that means it doesn't matter where the hell we are. It doesn't matter what environment we are in. We can do anything because we believe we can. You see, just talking about therapists, I know some therapists who have to have a couch for their client to lay down. They have to have quiet. They have to have ringing bells, maybe music. They have to have absolute perfection in that room. If not, if there's a disturbance outside, or the telephone rings, or the music doesn't quite work, or just can't do. But a true therapist who really believes in themselves can help people and do therapy anywhere, in the most noisy environment, because when they become confident in what they're doing, they will tune into their client, and the client and the therapist are as one, in a bubble, a vacuum as it were, and they just do the work. And it doesn't matter what noises come along, what disruptions, they use those disruptions, those things that happen to create those changes. And you see, this connection, this thing, what I've just explained now is very, it's to me, it's a truth. But in that truth, it's an intellectual way of thinking. Well, it's intellectual. It's a set of, it's a program, it's a process, it's a paradigm, all of that. And we can know that, and I know people who do know that, backwards, forwards. They know it better than I. They know the ins and outs and the whys and the wherefores. But knowing it and using it is two different things. And that's where I like mastery. Mastery is not just knowing what you know, but it's doing what you know. And being able to use this. Because I know when I'm working with a client, if I were to change their capabilities, we might get a change for a little while. But if I can get them to change their beliefs, their negative beliefs, into empowering, positive beliefs about themselves, their identity, I know that we're going to make the change that they want. And they'll do it all by themselves. And guess what? They're going to be so empowered. They will create the change. They'll create the change they want to see in themselves. They will create the change they want to see in others. And that's what it's like. So I want you to think about that. Starting from your identity, then the beliefs and values, then the skills, your capabilities, and then the things that you do, and then your environment. That's like the level. So where when you're doing a goal or not getting your goal? Is it not happening? And it will be about the belief, because there'll be somewhere in that process of you in completing that goal or not completing the goal, whichever the right word is, there'll be a negative feeling and a negative belief. And when we find that, we can and identify it, we can then start to change. Now, so here's the how, because we like to have a how. And this might even go into another podcast as well, because I've got more and more thoughts about this. But Jenny Journal comes in, piece of paper, a pen, pencil, anything you like, but Jenny Journal is absolutely brilliant. You know, what belief, if you thought about a goal, what belief would you like to believe about yourself? And when I say, people say, oh, I don't know if I could do that. We set our state, remember? We've got a little process at paulcloughonline.com/podcast. I keep banging on that. It's free, it's yours. Go there, learn how to change your state in an instant to the appropriate state. And when you're in that appropriate state, and I suggest for this one, it's like being curious and creative. So in that journal, you can just imagine, if I was to have the most appropriate, supporting, healthy belief, what would it be that would actually make this goal for me, enable me to get it? If you can't do that, who would have achieved this goal? Do you know anybody? Maybe you've read about them. What belief must they have had to be able to achieve that goal? And start to understand the types of belief that would support you in being able to continue through, to get what you want. And know, like me, that once you get that, it's going to lead on to wonderful other things, because your self-esteem is going to grow, your creativity, your imagination, your confidence, your alignment, because you have your identity and your beliefs and values aligned with your skills and the things you can do and your environment. You will fly. Now, some people might say, this is all very well. How else can I do it? Well, you see, I've got a wonderful way of doing this too, but it takes courage. It really does take courage, because you have to put yourself out there a little bit. Because what you do, you have to ask others. Now, one way of doing it is you could simply obviously ask them. Remember, ask for advice and things like that. Or you can email them. Pick a group of 10 of your closest friends, or people their advice would be really good and help you in finding the solution, and ask them, what am I good at? What feedback can you give me about the things that I maybe excel at, or you think I do well? Now, you'll be surprised, because everyone I know who has done this, maybe 50% of the feedback is what they really knew, but needed that little bit more. But there's the other 50% of things you didn't realize you were good at. And the reason you didn't know you were good at it was because you're so bloody good at it, you do it naturally. You don't see it as being a skill because it just comes so naturally to you. But when you recognize it, you suddenly can find the belief behind that. So what belief must I have? And what belief do I have when I'm doing the things that I love doing so easily, and that come so naturally to me, that it's as if time just disappears and I'm just doing the things I want to do? Hey, and the one thing about this is it does a couple of things. That feedback, like not the feedback sandwich, because we always said that's like a crap sandwich, but that feedback on the things that you do well will actually get you to do those things even more, and also get you to excel in things that you hadn't even thought about. You'll start doing things that you didn't realize you could do, because it just happens. It's just happens. Your neurological pathways open up to different opportunities. Synaptic gaps suddenly fire without you being aware of it, and you suddenly become very, very lucky in doing good things. But once you know that belief and you feel it, you can tap into it for other things. You can then think about the things that, like we've just said, the things that you excel at. What things do you do really well? Find some examples where you have high self-esteem. You have that high inner confidence, that competence, the things you just do, and you know times in the past when you've done these things and the result has been wonderful, better than you'd expected. And as you do that, ask yourself, what belief do I have about myself? And when you go back into that time, here's an example. If you find a specific memory, an example of when you were doing that thing that you had a wonderful result in, think about that specific example and go back there. Go back into that memory. Go back into yourself. See what you saw, hear what you heard, and then feel the feelings. And notice everything about it so richly. And as you're feeling the feelings, seeing what you saw, hearing what you heard, just ask yourself, what belief about myself makes this so? I'll repeat that again. Repeat it slowly because I got carried away. What belief do I have about myself that makes this so? Weird words, but it'll come up of I can, and write it down. Don't let it slip out your mind. Write it down. Colour it in. Lights. Do everything. Because that means you're finding the beliefs that when you tap into that type of belief and you hook into your goal, the things you want for your life, maybe the career, the relationships, the people, anything. Once you tap into have those beliefs at your identity core level, you'll find the skills to get what you want. And then you'll start to use those skills to get what you want. And you'll find the most perfect environment without looking for it. It'll be there because basically anywhere is great when you have those skills and you're doing them because you believe in yourself and who you are. It's as if you fully connect to the universe, the multiverse, and everything in abundance comes your way because that belief comes with a magical, positive feeling. There's so much there. I do have a hypnosis track on, say it again, paulcloughonline.com/podcast. One of the early ones about letting go of negative beliefs. So if you find a negative belief, you can look to change it. But the ways I've said about the journaling and finding those natural beliefs, those natural positive, self-empowering beliefs, and then tuning into your goals will start. Now, what do you want? What are you? Who are you? With those goals and wants and needs. What goals do you want? What wants do you want? What needs do you want? And as you think about all those things, which are ineffectively, the goals, the dreams, the wishes, just think of those things. What belief would I have to have? And what belief do I have in those other areas that match it? Now, I think I'm going to do a second podcast on this and take it even further, but this will get you started. There's an awful lot of information here. This Delt's Logical Levels is something that blew my mind when I first heard it. It blows my mind every time I teach it, and it blows my mind every time I use it because it just works. I know there are some people who say, well, it's not right, but it works for me. And if a process is so simple like this and it just works, it works. So you'll never have to wonder. Well, I hope you never have to wonder why you miss those goals, because you'll be noticing as you go through that adventure from start to finish, not the journey, the adventure of obtaining those things that you want, that you'll be able to adjust yourself to either making that goal, that wish, that dream bigger and brighter, or something even better. Because the one thing you need to realize, whatever you think you are, you're more than that. And when you're more than that, and you think of that, you need to realize you're even more than that. So hopefully this has been of interest. I know I've thrown a lot of stuff at you, but I think it's really important. I think with these podcasts now, we're getting into a more personal things of my life and the things that I do. But I hope we're getting into deeper things that allow you to get the life that you want. Remembering that thing about change. Change doesn't happen until you change yourself. And when you change yourself, everything changes. So let's Let's get those dreams. Let's create those dreams and create them into your reality. Create a reality full of wonderful dreams and wishes and successes, you know. And if anything does go, call it wrong, it's just feedback, man. Feedback. And then you just use a little bit of that flexibility to say, well, okay, this is what happened. I'm not going to do that again. How can I learn from this? Because when you do, when you learn, fears disappear. Fears of failure disappear. Because you just know you're going to learn. And as you learn, you're going to create even better things. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. You are you. You are you, and you are a wonderful you, and you're going to create a world that I'm going to love living in. I know that. And I'm going to create a world that you're going to love living in. And in that way, we're going to just share everything. And when we do, even though, as I say before, we won't know how far the ripples of change go, we will know that they'll go far and wide, further than our imagination. And when my ripple comes with your ripple, it's going to create even more magical ripples and all that type of things. You know, it'll be a wonderful world to live in, won't it? And it all starts with you and me. There you go. Please share if this is of interest. I think it will help everyone. I've really enjoyed talking about this. It was a lot longer, a lot deeper than I thought we would go, but it's so much more richer, I feel. So, to finish with, make goals bigger and brighter and richer than you can think of. Get that wonderful belief that's going to support you through that, and start taking intuitive, massive action. And enjoy. Enjoy every heartbeat. Live every moment as if it's the first moment. And just be more happier than you can stand. Speak to you again real soon. Enjoy. Just a quick note before you go. There's about 3 compliments you could pay me, and don't pay me. And they're this. The first, and they're all equal, is sharing this podcast into this integrated field of learning. Share it to everybody. If you could just pass on the word, pay it forward. That would be absolutely brilliant. Secondly, if there's anything that you need, anything you'd like me to talk about, any issues that you'd like a process for, send me an email, paul@paulclough.co.uk. Everything remains anonymous. And I'm going to do my very, very best to find out the things that you need. And thirdly, do have a little look at paulcloughonline.com. I know I bang on about this, but it's my little bit of trying to sponsoring this show. It has 2 wonderful, I believe they're wonderful programs. One is letting go of anxiety in your life. And the first 5 days of that are absolutely free. You might even let go of the anxiety on the 5th day. You never know. It can happen. It does happen. The second one is creating supreme inner confidence in yourself. Inner confidence, not overconfidence. There's a couple of paid for hypnosis tracks. There are a number, and they're designed in a special way. And then, of course, you've got all the free hypnosis. You just have to put /podcast at the end of that. So it's paulcloughonline.com/podcast. And there's all the free hypnosis that I've done on this podcast. That's where you find them. They're all together and they're all downloadable just for you. They're the 3 things. If there's anything else I've forgotten, please add it in. Okay. I'm going to look forward to speaking to you next time, hopefully with the input from yourself, so we can speak about the things that we both need and love and share. Bye-bye now. Personal development. Unplugged.